Hello, my friends, and welcome back to episode 8 of the Second Age show, where today we're going to be discussing everything around dwarves. And firstly, joining me as usual, we have Kyle. Hello, my friend.
Hey, great to be here.
Great to have you on as usual. And also, we have Lakitia.
Folks, lovely to be back.
Indeed. And as you can tell, probably from home from the title and thumbnail, we got interesting stuff, reveals, actors, all around that around dwarves, and this may be some story leaks potentially around dwarves as well. So we got quite basically, if I haven't said it enough already, it is going to be all focused around them. So yeah, I thought it'd be a nice little thing just have a whole episode focused on a specific race. So yeah, I think let's without further ado, let's just get right into it. So we've got seven or eight not little but 7 8 things, individual things that we're going to be revealing. And the first thing, so we have a few a mini story leak. We have some descriptions. We have some actors playing dwarves, and then we've got some really detailed descriptions as well. So I think we've got a lot to discuss today, haven't we, guys?
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big one for sure.
Indeed. And so if I'm keep on coughing in the background, I'm not feeling that well. But
Mm.
firstly, I think we'll start off with the first one. So the first bit is that Robert Aramayo, who is an elf, most likely Elrond, but we're not going to confirm anything. And but I have heard that he's an elf nonetheless, and that probably makes sense. But anyways, Elrond, who is most likely no, Robert Aramayo, who is most likely Elrond, was on the Dwarven sets and filmed scenes with the dwarves in the first 2 episodes of season 1, directed by J.A. Bayona. So this was the pilot episodes. So what this opens the doors to a lot of things as well, doesn't it?
Oh, indeed. I think this could either be Ered Luin or Khazad-dûm Dwarves. And I believe we could actually start the season with Elrond dwelling in Linden, just to, show off his dynamic with Gil-galad. And in that case, Ered Luin would be much closer. But given that the synopsis mentioned Moria in particular, and that the, Khazad-dûm dwarves are a lot greater in number at that time, I think it's more likely that it's, Moria we're talking about here. But, as much as we all like dwarves, I don't think we'll get to meet more than one dwarven group in this show. But then this really makes me wonder what kind of business could Elrond have with them? Like, is he just accompanying Celebrimbor, perhaps, or is he recruiting them for battle? So I doubt he'll just go there for sightseeing alone.
Yeah, I agree. It certainly when I think of elves hanging out with dwarves, I think more of Celebrimbor than Elrond. But I'm certainly interested to see what kind of interactions will take place there. That'll be really cool.
And I think so just to give more context, it has been been reported that Robert Aramayo was on the set same as the dwarves were on, and we're also going to be in today's video going to give you a bit more bigger description of the dwarven set. So I'm not sure which dwarven set he was on. We're not sure it's around that. For example, he might just be, it could be the chance, but I think I doubt it. Maybe he was just with some dwarves in a forest somewhere, maybe in a Nedway. That how that makes sense. That's an example I'm trying to give, um, but it's most likely that due to the next bit of things that we'll get into in a minute, well, in a few minutes, around the actor he was working with, that might give some more context. But I think adding on to Robert Aramayo for the scenes with the dwarves, this is a really interesting thing. Robert Aramayo had a stand-in for height perspective, and the actor was over 6'5" and in martial arts. So yeah, this is a really interesting thing because Robert Aramayo was on set with so many dwarves and probably dwarven probably big dwarven characters. He had to have a stand-in for height perspective to show how small the dwarves are in comparison to the elves. This is well, it does look like we're getting some height perspective, aren't we?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, having a stand-in for this type of scenes isn't that surprising, I think. But it does make me wonder what kind of martial scenes he would be involved in while on dwarven sets.
Yeah,
Are they fighting each
I
other?
think
Are they fighting?
no, I think the martial arts bit was just the more description of the stand-in for Baromir. I don't think he'll be doing a proper martial arts, but
Okay.
I think the more stressing on the side that
Oh,
this is
okay.
like some massive 6'5", 7" plus guy with just martial
Mm.
arts, massive, and then yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
but
right.
I think it does. I think it does point to some action, though. I would say for
yeah,
sure.
indeed, and I think the main bit of mm, um this actor being in here is to um just well this double we should say as a double for Baromir for the dwarven scene specifically to show the height difference and perspective between elves and the dwarves. So I think at least maybe we'll be seeing a lot more of that then. That means a lot of the if Elrond is potentially Elrond is going to be having a double for height perspective. That means a lot of the elves will then if I'm sure like for example if we are going to see Celebrimbor in the show, he would have to have one as well. So it's interesting that Amazon are going this route.
Yeah, and if they're that tall, it makes me wonder how tall the Numenorians will be portrayed as.
They'll just
Yeah.
have people on stilts just walking around.
Yeah,
That would be something.
probably.
That would be something for sure.
hmm But I think, and let's go on to another really interesting bit, is that Owain Arthur is an important dwarven character in Lord of the Rings and Prime, and filmed scenes with Robert Aramayo on the dwarven sets in the first two episodes. So here we go. We have no clue who Owain Arthur is playing, and even if we did, I probably wouldn't say it properly because that'll probably ruin it a bit. But so we have Owen Arthur is an important dwarven character though nonetheless, and he has filmed scenes with Robert Aramayo for the first two pilot episodes. So this is where stuff is starting to get more interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really great news as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he does give me that dwarven vibe, doesn't he? Like he's
Definitely.
Yeah,
really, he's got the sturdy
he's
look to him.
Scottish, right?
No, Welsh.
Welsh.
Oh, he's Welsh. Okay,
Welsh,
yeah.
Welsh.
Well, he's still got that, that accent, and um,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, like it certainly to me makes me think immediately of Celebrimbor, but it's it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah,
Unless,
same. First, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
so maybe Robert Aramayo is Celebrimbor. Maybe that's the
I mean,
twist.
Oh, that
that
would be the plot twist
Yeah,
indeed.
that
it's all.
that thought certainly crossed my mind, but
I
you know,
don't see it
we've
happening though.
no, I
Yeah,
don't
me
either.
neither. Like the first character that came to my mind is Narvi, for
Mm,
Owen Arthur.
hmm.
But then this also made me think of something else. Like there's been a lot of speculation that the two pilot episodes could be covering like an early period, the
Yeah.
Forging of the Rings, for example, and the rest of the show taking place after a significant time jump. Of course, this is all speculation and rumors and stuff. But if Owain's dwarf does appear in the pilot, that does change things a little bit because the actor has apparently still been in New Zealand in April, which would imply that his character is still alive in the show in later episodes. So this could
Unless
potentially
of
mean there.
unless it's
Of
pickups, that
course,
does make sense. But yeah.
yeah, of course, it could be
Mm.
pickups. It could be just a compression of or the parallel timelines. There could be a number of other things. But for me, you know, knowing that he's a dwarf that appears in the pilot episodes does make me think that the whole first season, at least, will take place in a very condensed, time period.
Yeah, I think that's same in my mind, and I'm certainly not opposed to them kind of combining different character attributes and putting them into other characters for the sake of time.
Yeah, I don't think that would be the end of the world. Let's say if Amazon did
Mm.
Mhm.
decide to go that route, but it is interesting if because we know in the first episode we're either gonna get a flashback scene or a or a few-minute prologue of Tyrion,
Yeah.
and that means first age and prior Year of the Trees. So that
Yeah,
shows
there's certainly going to be some of that, of
mm-hmm,
course. But
maybe
that's similar to how they handled, the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit, which both started with a very chunky prologue taking place
yeah.
quite a long time before the actual films.
This is
Hmm.
giving me an interesting thought. Maybe is I don't think Elrond was pretty for the most part null in the first stage, but maybe we are seeing maybe Robert Elrond and Owain North maybe interacting in the first stage or prior. but I don't think just for how Robert Romero doesn't really get involved until the end, I don't think how that can work properly. But do you get what I'm
I
trying
think,
to say?
yeah, but I think in that case, that would really just have to be a flashback. And
Mm-hmm.
Owen
Yeah.
Arthur was mentioned like among the first 15 actors announced. So I think his role is a big one. He wouldn't just be there for a single flashback or a couple of flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we know that Elrond wasn't alive in the Years of the Trees, so.
No. Yeah, I was talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
maybe the
absolutely.
late first stage that maybe we
Oh, I
could
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we could get something around there because I know he doesn't play.
Right.
We know he doesn't play an early part in the earlier
Yeah.
years, but
Mm.
I'm thinking because maybe that is an interesting thing. Maybe because if they want to show his backstory, for example, when he had to make that choice either with his brother Elros, either to
Mm.
stay a man or stay an elf, either one. Maybe showing that maybe that
Hmm.
pivotal character moment for him as well. Maybe in the first episode they expand on that, but who knows? But of
Yeah,
course
It
that's
that
certainly
also,
is. It's a big part of his character, that's for
yeah,
sure.
and
yeah,
also it's a big part of, the Numenorian
yeah,
storyline as well, how
Yeah.
indeed.
Numenor was established
So
and
yeah.
Elros and everything.
Yeah, it's a good
Hmm.
cross-reference there.
So yeah,
Mm.
I think I think that's just mainly speculation on our part. There's nothing
Yeah,
confirmed or
yeah.
anything. But now moving on to the next one, we're getting some costume description. So the dwarves have quote amazing dragon scale armor, with some being as heavy as 15 to 20 kg on the extras. So first thing, apparently what I've been actually wait back to Wayne Arthur. Another thing that I've heard is that out of and everyone on the in the cast, Owen Arthur was, I think, the most liked actor out of all the. Apparently, he was a blast and it was fun. It was fun to have time with him. Not fun to have
I can
time with
see
him.
that.
Yeah, but you get what I mean. But yeah, it's still my English grammar out there.
Oh,
But so yeah, it seems like I, even from that video, I think with Case Scodalari, I think Lakiti was
yeah.
mentioning as well. He does seem like it's a blast with him. So yeah, that's another little just side thing as well. But the reason I went there was because the dwarves have and so they have dragon scale armor or dragon armor. And what do you think? How do you think this fits in with their design aesthetic?
I think it's terribly appropriate, considering we know,
Mhm.
the dwarves of Belagost were, the first to make, chainmail and dragon-proof armor, and that was what helped them succeed against
Mhm.
Glaurung in the first age, and I think that's a really cool throwback to that.
Mhm. Mhm. Indeed.
I mean,
Maybe again. Maybe we might even. But maybe that's going a bit too far. But yeah. So, but continue, Lakitia.
no, all I can say is like 15 to 20 kilos, poor extras.
Oh
Mhm.
man.
Mhm.
That's a heavy armor, but anyway, hearing folks praise costumes and props always makes me feel a little safer. So I just wonder, what it will look like and whether it'll be similar to the film's design. But yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good.
But dragon armor, and apparently, when I was speaking, well, talking around all the armor on the all the costume on the show, it said that the dwarven armor was the best and most cool looking and the most
Mm.
aesthetically pleasing armor as well. So yeah, it looks like the dwarves are going to be quite interesting in the show. But adding on to extras, most, if not all, the dwarven extras were New Zealand male 50 to 60-year-olds and even older. And I think even when we go back to The Hobbit, I remember at the start of the prologue, I think nearly every single extra from there was just like some 50 to 60-year-olds. So yeah, it makes sense that they want to go that route again with that. And of course, and this 50 to 60 was having 15 to 20 kg on them. I was like,
Oh man.
Oh
yeah,
wow, I didn't even think
Yeah.
of that.
That's
hmm
a commitment. That's
yeah,
impressive. I'm excited to see that on screen, and I
indeed.
wonder if it's like a nod to the dwindling population of the dwarves, right?
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, that's an interesting thought as well. And trying to
Did
express
dwindling
that.
at that point,
Mm.
though?
Sorry?
I mean, is it at that point though the population
I guess it
going
depends on
down?
where we're jumping in.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
again, like it all comes down to where we're
yeah,
jumping in.
and that's what I
For
thought
me,
as
it's
well.
like while I'm super glad to get mature actors involved with this show, and I really hope that dwarves won't just be portrayed by older men. Like, give me some younger dwarves
Yep.
and give me some
Yep.
gorgeous bearded dwarven ladies. Of
Yep.
course,
I'm
there's
with you on that.
yeah, there's of course Owain who's
Oh, wait,
13,
yeah.
38. if
38, I
I'm
think. Yeah,
correct. Yeah, so I
yeah,
suppose there's some hope for that.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
because I think they'll.
It's interesting to see a young king around an older population. I just find
Well,
that
we well
interesting.
Owain Arthur, we don't
We
know is a
don't know if
king or
he's
not.
a king.
He's a king.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
an important dwarf, I
an
should say.
important dwarf.
yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
um, I think maybe they might go the route of the Hobbit, where all the dwarves in the army, except for I think minus Balin, they all look quite young, etc. Because they have to be the
Mm,
main characters. But then in the background, and like for example in the armies, everyone just looks like an add like 20 to the age of
right.
yeah, of all the extras. So maybe they might be going down that route. But yeah, I do see it. Maybe for example, maybe Dwarven women. So that'd be really interesting to see on screen.
It would
So
be.
Mhm.
I
so
think they have
Yeah,
to, really.
yeah,
I think they'll
yeah.
have
yeah.
to.
And we've seen some in the prologue of The Hobbit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm really willing to see more, and to get a speaking role actually for a
Yeah,
dwarven lady, that would be mighty
absolutely.
Hmm.
fine.
Yeah, it'd be very cool.
Indeed. So now going on to the next bit, which is really interesting. Now this is about that Dwarven King. Kyle was talking about. So the
Mm.
Dwarven King is said to look strikingly similar to Tormund from Game of Thrones, and it was a running joke on set about the similarity with the Game of Thrones character. It seemed to be that the Dwarven King was based on Tormund's look. So it's safe to say that most likely Durin, and of course we're not sure which Durin it will be, during the third, maybe during the fifth later on, but it seems that this, and I have a picture on screen for those you don't know what Tormund looks like, and
Fabulous.
yeah, if apparently it was this such striking similarity between the Game of Thrones character for this Dwarven King is it was so funny because there is such a big um just such a big similarity apparently. So what do you guys think of that? Seeing our Dwarven King look like this, redhead, probably Scottish guy. That is probably similar to Jackson's view on dwarves.
Yeah, I mean, I sure hope it wasn't a conscious decision to make him look like Tormund in particular.
Yeah.
Though that, like, most likely that means a ginger-haired dwarven king, and I'm always up for more gingers. And but
Mhm.
I'm really wondering, like, who could be playing him? Like maybe Dylan Smith or Tristan Gravel.
Or Peter Malone. There's so many.
Oh, Peter Malone, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, but also not surprising, right? Like the Peter Jackson's dwarves certainly, at the very least in The Hobbit, looked that way as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
But it's interesting that the kid, not the kid, the king is going to. I'm just looking at more pictures of him here, and you
Mm,
just the beard, really. That say that for
yeah.
me, and that hair just,
Yeah, the wild hair.
yeah, just flowing backwards. So it looks like we're going to have quite an interesting Dwarven King on our hands, which is always, and it's also fun though knowing that on set they do have jokes around certain things, which is a good thing.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
always.
But now moving on to our final thing, we have that there are some scenes from the first two episodes will show dwarves climbing a mountain slash ravine. This could either be inside or inside their kingdom, because we're not sure which kingdom it is, probably most likely Khazad-dûm, or outside as well. And also on the dwarven sets there is an underground pub set piece as well. So I think that was the description of it's saying it was like a this massive like an English pub like that as well.
Mm,
So firstly, we've got dwarves climbing a mountain slash roof, so mountainside or so it's either a full mountain or mountainside or a ravine. So it's one of those three. So what do you think that could indicate? It depends really on which one. So, for example, if it's like a mountainside inside, they could be mining for some
Yeah.
materials, but then maybe if it's on the outside on a mount on a if it's just on a full mountain, they could be climbing potentially to reach something. I'm not sure. And then of course the ravine. That's quite interesting thing as well. So it really depends on which one it is, isn't it?
Well, the first thing that made me remember was actually, the scene we mentioned with the Dwarven King falling down a mine shaft or something, or like
Mm.
something.
Ooh, yeah.
So,
That's
maybe that there could be an accident and other dwarves could be climbing for him, like
interesting.
to
yeah.
him for help. and stuff.
That is really interesting. Thanks for remembering that, like Katia, because we did have this
Yeah.
dwarven this king fall down. Well, well now this torment king fell down a
Poor Torment,
yeah.
with no Brienne to help him out,
Uh, I don't get that joke, but I'm sure it was a
All
good
right,
one.
no worries.
Yeah. But anyway, Cole, did you get it?
Oh yeah, that's
Okay, that's the
yeah,
main thing.
absolutely.
That's the main thing then. Okay, so then we got this dwarven king falling down this mountainside ravine and fall down these mine shafts, and now we've got dwarves climbing up this mountainside. So maybe it just shows that we're going to see a lot of just elaborate mines and stuff like that, and a lot of dwarves being quite practical.
But I think like mostly with this scene mentioned dwarves climbing a ravine with the mine shaft falling down the Dwarven King's head, and Elrond's presence on Dwarven sets. This certainly signifies that there will be a greater emphasis on dwarves than there was in the source material.
Yeah,
But I'm sure
which
that's going to
I'm
be
all
like,
for.
yeah, I think that's going to be general for a lot of things as well, though.
Yeah.
Of
Having,
course, it's so sparse, so you gotta
yeah.
insert
It's nice
new
to hear the
scenes.
fine details as well. Like, we've heard a lot about Numenor, and so to
Mhm.
hear something about dwarves is really cool as well.
Yeah,
It seems like they'll be just as in depth.
yeah, but can we now please hear something about the elves as well?
Ah, yeah.
Stuff. Please.
Mhm.
But the other thing, like that you mentioned, the underground pub set scene, um, like an underground canteen, yes, please.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
this instantly makes me think of Thorin's Hall in Lord of the Rings Online, which I loved, and I certainly hope, they will portray the dwarves with more nuance than Jackson did, not just have them standing around the canteen drinking and being rowdy all day long.
Yeah. And I
Mhm.
mean, we certainly want to know what they do after, they seal the door, right?
Indeed. And
Oh, absolutely.
And
Mm.
maybe this will give more great dynamic to dwarves as well. Seeing them probably, it just reminds me. Think of in the Jackson movies with the hobbits, the Green Dragon, well, and then but times that by like 10, and then you'll see it with
Yeah.
Yeah.
dwarves, and then there's also
Yeah.
be interesting to see that we're going to see this more. No, I'm not gonna. It's really hard to find the right adjective, but not calm, but it's more like even though they're going to be crazy but more relaxed because in Dwarves so far in adaptations you've already seen them not serious but there's always something they have to do. There's always this sense of, oh, we have to go and do this, no time to rest, our home has been taken from us. But here in this show we're going to
Yeah.
see they are at their home, they're having fun, they're at this
Yeah.
dwarven like pub
Mhm.
probably enjoying themselves.
Mm.
So yeah, and I think that is a nice thing that we're going to see. That's quite a new thing from an adaptation of Dwarves from Tolkien's
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, I
It is,
agree.
but we did get a lot of scenes of dwarves drinking and just partying in both The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it is a trope at this point, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, but I'm saying more the sense of them partying when they're like
Yeah,
re-
yeah, just
more yeah.
In
being
their own
relaxed.
environment and
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
that sounds lovely.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's also going to be nice to seeing. It seems like the dwarves in their prime as well, and seeing because normally we know that the dwarves, of course, they lose their homes a lot of times, but for a certain period in this show, it looks like they're going to be settled for quite a while, and I think
Yeah,
Hmm.
settled and also in Casa Doom at its prime,
yeah.
which should look
Yeah. Oh
amazing.
my gosh, yes.
And I think something that basically adds to that is that Elrond is coming to visit them as well, because it must
Mm.
show that
Mm.
they have an important part to play. And I think we should maybe talk about that for a bit. So, what may be the reasons why Elrond might be coming um to talk to the dwarves? Because I think a good thing, I think someone mentioned, I think both of you mentioned that this role could have easily gone to Celebrimbor, or it looks like Elrond is doing.
Be both of them, It could just be Elrond accompanying Celebrimbor or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Yeah, that could be a possibility. You maybe might have heard of it, but that could be an ideal possibility. But I think before we wrap up, what's the news that has probably or the reveal that has probably made you most excited so far?
Out of
Out of
today's
yeah, out of
news?
today's stuff here around the dwarves.
Oh, for me, it's definitely Owen Arthur as a dwarf. I think this is so exciting, and I think he can do a magnificent job. So I'm really excited about that. And I think I didn't comment on it before, but when you've mentioned that he's a very popular cast member among the crew, I think that's always so lovely to hear. I
Mm-hmm.
really like
Mm.
it when there's, good relations between people, and that's just very encouraging thought.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's hard for me to pick one, but I would say the dragon scale armor is very telling for me.
Mm-hmm. And I
Just
think,
the relationship between the dwarves and dragons over all three ages really
yeah.
is it's fitting, I think.
And I'm with Kyle as well with that. And of course, I think Robert Romero's bit is really really interesting, but it's because I've
Mm.
been able to speak to these birdies, and being able to see that the dwarves and stuff. Because overall, if you want to have a sense of context, it seems like people are from the show are most excited, or close to the show are most excited to seeing these dwarves and seeing the part they have to play. Apparently, this is going to be the really awesome, or well, that I'm not even saying awesome, like, and that's generally quotes from what they've said themselves. So so indeed, and what's it called? I think that's just about it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Just to recap quickly, we had Rob Mayo, who's most likely playing Elrond but is an elf, was on the Dwarven sets and filmed scenes with the dwarves in the first two episodes of season one, directed by J. Biona. We had Robert Aramayo, who was a stand-in for High Perspective on. No, Robert Aramayo wasn't standing, but Robert Aramayo had a double who was about 6'5". He did martial arts, but I think that was an added thing, and that was for height perspective with the dwarven extras, etc. And then also we have Owain Arthur is an important dwarf in the show and has interacted with and been on the same set and worked with Robert Aramayo. Then we have some really interesting stuff around the armor. This dragon scale armor, amazing dragon armor, which is a quote, that's what we've been told. And some of it being really, really heavy. Then we got a lot of the extras on quite older New Zealand males, but that doesn't exclude the chance there will be females as well. And of course we have the Dwarven King looking like Tormund from Game of Thrones, which is a really interesting thing. And it was a running joke on set as well with the striking similarity. And but we're not sure if it's solely been based on his look, but that's what people close to the show thought. And finally, we have some scenes from the first two episodes with dwarves climbing a mountain or ravine or a mountainside, and also there was an underground pub set piece, which is quite nice to know that we're going to have see more enjoyment from these dwarves in the show. I think that's a good enough roundup.
Yeah, that was excellent.
We'll
Perfect.
get you there.
And before we wrap up, I'd just like to say is that of course we'll continue bringing the rumors, speculation around the show. Well, speculation from what we heard. Of course, one thing I'd like to reiterate is that um there is of course a fine line between revealing stuff and then starting to potentially maybe spoil it or make it really annoyed on Amazon side when they're keeping everything under wraps, and then stuff like this just start to not stuff like this, but stuff starts to leak out. So of course, maybe some of you maybe in the future might be getting, maybe right now might be saying if I'd like not reveal everything, but maybe it's be more beneficial down the line when you do get to see the show and the enjoyment of knowing what happens without a leak. If you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So just that I know maybe we'll go on. You'll be starting to touch more interesting and bigger stuff, and I want to just to let everyone know, as a just to probably reassure that I of course as well know that if I start releasing something that's massive, like really really big, that could potentially ruin it for people. I think also I have enough people around me to probably make sure that doesn't happen, because I know just me for Amazon that can make that could be quite annoying for them, and then also for all the people who worked on the show as well, and then having their stuff or like lots and lots of stuff coming like that. But of course, to keep just for while Amazon doesn't really stuff like this, like what Barry May being on set is really interesting and stuff we can just speculate about, and you know what, maybe some of this might potentially be wrong, and I'm trying really hard for me to say that line because you know how much I like having a 100% track record. But
Mm.
I think yeah, I think that's just a good way to just finish this off because it does also bode over what future releases we might have. B- regarding and that's regarding next week's episodes and future episodes as well. So yeah, hope you take what you will from that last few minutes. But I think time to wrap up. It's been a really interesting bit of discussion and speculation mainly this week as well, because due to the how many reported things we have. So firstly, thank you, Carl.
Thanks very much. It's always great to chat with both of you.
Indeed. Also, thank you to Lakitia.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was a really exciting episode. So, see
Uh,
ya.
See you as usual. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. But until the next video, my friends, goodbye.